Hello and welcome back to the Jules with Gem podcast. I am your host GiGi and I hope you're well. If you're new, welcome. I'm honored to have you here, and if you're returning, I'm humbled to have you back. And to all my new subscribers, welcome. And even those that are subscribers and returning, you are the VIPs indeed. Thank you ever so much for the support. I hope you and I can continue to learn and share on this journey, because it's definitely not a destination, and I cannot stress this enough. I don't know how many times I've actually gone back to my birth chart and been like, wait, let me go check something out real quick, and I learned something new about myself almost all the time. I think it's also important to kind of check other websites out as well. If you do know how to read your own birth chart, kind of check other charts as on other websites as well, because that will also help you to see what other aspects you have that may not be mentioned on other websites, so that you can further strengthen your knowledge of self. So as I've mentioned in my previous videos, there are a total of 12 houses, and each house is basically a segment or an area of life, and each house has a ruler, and that ruler is any of the 12 zodiac signs. So from the depths of the fourth house, because remember I said the fourth house is the deepest part of self, next up is the fifth house. Yay! We have officially arrived at the house of fun. So like I said, the fourth house is that deepest part of ourselves, and really I don't want to say darkness. If you do hear any sounds, there is some construction happening in my area, and please just try and bear with me. But as I said before, the fourth house is also represented by the moon, and the moon is representative of night, and that whole analogy: night, the moon, sun, the day, sunshine. It's basically a part where we shine. And I don't even mean to be biblical, but as it's stated in Matthew 18 verse 3, truly, as I say unto you, unless you become like children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. And this is essentially the vibe of the fifth house. It's only when you allow yourself to be a child, or to express your inner child, when you express your inner child, and even when you embrace, I think most importantly is to embrace and accept your inner child and what it wants to do and how it wants to create. That is when you really experience your slice of heaven. It's genuine fun times with the fifth house. It represents how you have fun, what you consider fun, what you consider creative, or even your creative self-expression. Could be an indication of your romantic relationships, of course, because the fifth house is associated with romance, mostly light-hearted kind of romance. How you handle yourself and your relationships in general, or how you are in relationships that are of a surface level nature. It represents children, games, gambling. It's also the house originally ruled by Leo, and the ruler or the planet for Leo is the sun. So like I said, it's exactly where you shine. Your hobbies are also represented here to a certain extent. To a certain extent, I feel as though the fifth house represents your true passions, your true love, your true creativity, or rather your true potential for creativity. And the only reason why I'm saying this is because of the fact that this is the house of things or themes that you genuinely do without being coerced. It really comes naturally. You're not being forced in any way. Also, the way you create is essentially passion. It's what stirs you up. It's really what lights up your fire. So that's also a Leo trait. I think with all fire signs, actually, they just like constantly just a ball of passion, really. And everything that's created, everything, if you really take into consideration the sign on the cusp of your fifth house and the planets in your fifth house, if you have any, and the aspects that are made to the fifth house, I think you would genuinely really be able to unlock your true potential when it comes to your creative endeavors, anything that you'd like to pursue. Because it's the house of things that you do genuinely, and it's things that you do that give you genuine pleasure, that give you genuine joy. And really the joy here is exaggerated because it's something that you do like. And I think that's also why it's attributed to children as well, because children really do bring genuine joy, genuine feelings of love, genuine passion. A lot of people are motivated to do the things that they do because they are children, and that says a lot. Whether the things that they are being forced to do, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about genuinely wanting the best for your child, genuinely wanting to make them feel as comfortable as possible, genuinely wanting to give them the best experiences, the best life, the best kind of love, the best kind of parenting, and really even you yourself as a parent just wanting to be a better version of yourself because of your children or your child, if you have one. So anything that's created is out of genuine love and out of light. And how, like I also said, how you experience pleasure is also found here. And honestly, the fifth house is just vibes. I really have a picture in my mind of a party. That's basically entertainment. That's basically what I'm thinking about when it comes to the fifth house. And also, whoever has Venus in the fifth house and your Venus is in Pisces, I am totally like, I envy you. Honestly speaking, I envy you. Honestly, I do, because Venus is, of course, most comfortable in this house and really increases your capacity for joy, capacity for creativity. Just all of the above mentioned themes are just exaggerated, and in a good way, because there's really nothing negative to say about the fifth house, honestly. And when Venus is in Pisces, it is exalted. So Venus likes being in the sign of Pisces because all of the things that Pisces represents is exactly in line with what Venus can be attributed to. So romance also being a theme of the fifth house is because when you think about it, when you're in a monogamous relationship with someone, there's always the idea or the ideal. I wasn't really sure which word to actually use in the sentence. English is an interesting language, but idea or ideal that you are that person's sole focus and interest in that time, which just further expands, your sense of uniqueness, your sense of specialness, if that's even a word. We really just feel adorned and cherished, and I think most of all chosen, because who on this planet Earth does not want to be chosen, by someone, by family, by, those close to them. So if you don't have any planets in your fifth house, then it would just mean that the themes of this house are not really a focal point in this lifetime. However, of course, you do want to check the sign on the cusp of that house and see if there are any aspects to that ruler, as I always say. So the sign on the cusp of the fifth house will give you an indication of also how you express your creativity. I have Virgo in my fifth house, and yes, I love Virgos. They're so much fun. I'm constantly laughing like a hyena when I'm around them. They're just absolutely funny to me. They have the best humor. I mean, if you have any Virgo friends, you know exactly what I'm talking about. They're such clowns. They are just so well spoken, and really when they're comfortable around you, they really do start showing up, but I think it takes them a long time to kind of open up like that. Virgos are ruled by Mercury, and Mercury is quite an intuitive feminine sign, so naturally they are quite intuitive and they're able to pick on vibes really quickly. Same thing with Gemini as well. So I enjoy the banter that I always have with Virgos. It's always astonishing to me. And I just understand them and their little quirks, and it's always a good time. And it also lets me know that, if I really wanted to experience pure joy, pure love, pure creativity, pure comfort, then, I should consider dating a Virgo. Although with Virgos, it's kind of like a catch-22. I don't know what it is about them. I think because I have a Gemini moon, so I do understand their nature. I do understand their overthinking nature. I do understand their restlessness. I do understand a lot of the things that they do. What I don't understand is how they can be a planet of communication and just kind of go off the face of the planet sometimes. Like, that really just bothers me sometimes about them, because as a Gemini moon, I constantly want to be in communication with people and those that I actually find interesting. So, establishing a relationship sometimes with Virgos can be a bit tricky because, like I said, they take so long to kind of open up, whereas I'm more of an open book, and I wouldn't say readily give information because Scorpio is in my 7th house. So Pluto is also in my 7th house for context. So I don't think I readily trust and give away information, but I am quite open when I'm asked questions, or even when we're having conversations, debating, that kind of a thing. So with them, it's really tricky. I think it depends which Virgo you get. The sun, moon, and ascendant combination is very important here. But just genuinely speaking, topically speaking, I would have the most fun with them. It really would be genuine, and the things that we'd probably get up to would probably sing together, create music, or even poetry, or even babies. No, I'm just joking. I'm just kidding. I joke. But actually, that could also be part of it. And also having Virgo in the 5th house also tells me that I creatively, or even if you have Virgo in your 5th house as well, it just means that I creatively express myself when I communicate, which makes total sense because here I am, communicating to you on my podcast. And I've just always loved broadcasting and radio, any form of media, honestly. But I think radio really is just where it's at. Broadcasting for me is where it's at. And communication in general is a big theme with Mercury, which is also the planet that rules Virgo and Gemini. So generally, communication and talking and interacting, asking questions, being curious, that is how I express my creativity. Makes so much sense. It also makes a lot of sense because I can be very animated when I'm speaking, which is this part of me being humorous, honestly, me just wanting to crack a joke every now and then. I hope you guys do appreciate it. But to also add further perspective in regards to children, I will make an example again with myself. My son is a Virgo rising, and we spend most of our time listening to music, laughing, creating memories together, creating songs. And I think we create songs a lot of the times when we're listening to lo-fi, because it's just, it's just beats. And depending on the type of beats that we would be listening to, something would just go off and I'd be like, hey, let's, share a memory. And then I'll record myself singing to him. And, he's just kind of going with it sometimes he's quiet. It just depends how he's feeling on that day. But I think he enjoys watching me kind of have fun with him. We also like to do things like bake and, cook. And I think he enjoys watching and helping me do like mundane chores, and finding a way to make them fun, which is really something that I appreciate about my son. Honestly, we have the best times. And I also creatively seek ways to discipline him instead of, kind of doing it the traditional way. The fifth house is also the house of independence, so I allow him, a certain level of independence because I just want him to establish a lot more confidence in his decision-making abilities, in his abilities to think critically, and I believe that will increase his confidence as well, and just his overall perspective of life, which is quite important. So honestly, there's nothing bad that I can say about the fifth house. What I will say though is that the planets in the fifth house will determine the overall energy and how it colors your life, so to speak. I have part of fortune in this house, and I really haven't gathered the full concept of what this means yet. I'm working on it, of course. And I just think it's because there's just not a lot of information about the part of fortune. The part of fortune is an amalgamation of the themes of your ascendant, your sun, and your moon. So it being in the fifth house, I think, actually, let me not even say anything because I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure what it actually means. Does it mean, all of the things that I enjoy, or all of the positive parts of my ascendant, my moon, and my sun? I should take all of those things, mix them into one, and I will probably find something that I enjoy. Most probably, I don't know. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. Please don't quote me on that. For example, a planet like Mars in your fifth house may mean you could be a bit impulsive, maybe even reckless when it comes to how you have fun. Perhaps you're like really into extreme sports where your life is virtually hanging on a thread, and that gives you enjoyment. No judgment. Or even Pluto, which may make you really invested in your creativity, and your relationships need to have meaning. And because it's in the fifth house, it really is difficult to just have surface level relationships. It's like with Pluto there, your relationships really need to make sense. Otherwise, it's pointless, virtually. Saturn here could make you someone that feels restricted in showing off their creativity, or you may even have issues, bearing children, or just not want any kids, period, or just not want to be creative, just not want to have any hobbies, just really be forced to be a grown-up in your romantic relationships even. But like I said, again, everything hangs on how your chart is set up. If anything, I've always felt like the only true indication of life is change and growth. And if these two things are not happening, then you may kind of feel stagnant and stuck. And anything that's not growing is dead, honestly. And anything that isn't experiencing change remains the same. We see it even in nature. We are given certain indicators, or indications rather, that okay, the season is about to change. Babies become full grown adults, and I mean, hopefully, seeds become flowers and trees and food for the bees and even homes for the birds. So just like the sun, you are a star, so go ahead and shine. I always hope to bring clarity in the understanding or study of astrology, and I hope you have understood a little bit more about the fifth house and its influence. In my next video, I will be talking about the sixth house and how that influences your chart. On that note, thank you so much for tuning in. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Show me some love and subscribe to my channel if you'd like and feel I have brought value to your understanding of astrology. And as always, time spent is much appreciated. Till next time, you know what you do. So keep doing what you do. Peace, love, and most of all, light. I'm out.